Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my photo chats. So the beauty of street photography is you can go out with no subject in mind, and you can go out and prowl the streets and look for little moments, little stories that unfold in front of you. You can go to events and document the revelry if people are doing something interesting and visual. You can go out and you can make great compositions with figures and shafts of light and architecture and geometric shapes. You can do all kinds of stuff. That's the beauty of street photography. Like, you can go out with no subject in mind and create something out of the world that shows up in front of you. Sometimes it's figures for the people who like the Alan Schaller type photography, or Cartier-Bresson, and people who did things where they were kind of like playing God with, okay, these are my elements. I'm going to put that guy there with that light in that building. Versus the other kind, which is more storytelling, which is more my style, where I'm going out looking for little stories of the street. Two people having a laugh, somebody tripping, somebody doing something that has a little bit of a element that says, I can see a story there. If you've seen my Colorado Faces website, you've seen many of my stories. But the other one you can do is street portraits. And street portraits guarantees you're going to go get portraits and make something, because street photography can be, sometimes it can be a little bit iffy. You can go out and say, I'm going to go out and make street portraits or street photographs, but it's like there's really nothing that happens. You photograph people walking, and people are walking over there, and now they're walking over here. And so what? I'm a big fan of good photographers or good editors. They don't show everything. They only show their very best. And they are not desperate to say, I must show something even though I don't have anything because I was out today. Good photographers are good editors, and they only show things that are worth my time. That tap on the shoulder and says, hey, take a look at that. Hey, look at that. Look what's going on over there. And if it's a person walking, it's like, why did you bother wasting my time? But street photography can be fickle like that. But street portraits are not, unless you're in a place where there aren't any people out. But if you're in a place where people gather, people are walking around, it's an outdoor mall, some kind of a place that's the promenade of a town, you can do street portraits. And it might take a little bit of courage to say, I'm going to go up to people and say, hey, I want to photograph you. But how do you say it? I walk up with a Rolleiflex in one hand and some pictures in the other hand. I go, hey, excuse me, I've been making portraits all year with this old camera, and I'd love to photograph you. May I make a quick portrait? It takes a minute, and then you can download it today. It's free. And they say yes. But another thing that helps, which may not matter so much in the street photography world, is I'm dressed like the people I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who have a little style. I'm looking for people who have flair. I'm not looking for people who are wearing sport jerseys and t-shirts. I'm looking for people who have a little bit of distinctiveness about them. And when I see that, that's who I approach. And I'll say, I chose you because I think, you have great style. And I've had several people say to me, I like your style too. Because I'm usually wearing some kind of a corduroy sport coat or a really colorful shirt, black jeans, and I'm wearing things that look like I'm also part of that stylish group that I'm looking for. I look like an artist. I'm wearing a hat. I'm looking safe. I'm looking like somebody who seems to be a character, and I don't seem to be scary. At least I don't think. And I approach people with this energy that I dressed up, I look sharp, I'm asking you to be a part of something. It won't take very long, and you can get something. You can download it for free. But maybe we need some new threads. If you are at estate sales, look inside closets. You find clothing that is not the same old stuff that's being sold at Old Navy. You find stuff that's vintage. You find shirts that are really interesting. You can find things at thrift stores. I typically buy things at thrift stores and estate sales, and I'm looking for one-of-a-kinds that are separate from what everybody else can get. I'm looking for things that are a little different. I'm looking for bold colors. I used to be in a band, and the piano player would always ask, "What should we wear today?" And I would say, "Dress like you don't belong in the crowd, like you belong on the stage. Dress better than everybody else. Have more flair than the other people. You're an artist. We have to look like artists up there, not look like we just stepped up off of the barroom floor and just picked up the instrument." And so we did. We always dressed a little bit fancy, a little bit of flair. You know who had a great sense of that was Bob Dylan. You look at his Rolling Thunder review and look at his style. He always had great style. He had great presence and showmanship. And another one is Tom Petty. If you ever saw him, he would wear purple tuxedos on stage or purple tails with a top hat. And you might see him in some of the music videos that he did. And he was always very much about, I've got to present. And as we're going out, we're making street portraits. I know I'm not going to go wear a black t-shirt. I know I'm not going to wear a white t-shirt and go out and talk to people. They're going to say, "Who's this guy?" But I'm going to dress up a little bit nice. I'm going to have a smile on my face and have a camera that's going to be attractive. People are always enamored by a Rolleiflex. And I'm going to say, "Hey, can I make your portrait?" And 99 out of 100 times they say yes. Get over any fear that they're going to say no. Go out there with a joy and say, "Hey, I can't wait to meet some people and make some portraits. And hey, I met you. I'm so glad to meet you." So many people leave saying, "Oh, thank you so much for choosing us." And I always say, "Thanks for being part of my gallery show." And they're excited. I made their day. They made my day. But it might take a little bit of effort to look the part so that you can get those yeses, so that you have a good chance of connecting to people and making the kind of photos that you want to make. But both street photography and street portraits are brilliant because they're both a way to go out with no subject in mind and make something. But if you've seen my AmericanStreetPortraits.com gallery, I pretty much add 10 to 12 photos every weekend, and the thing has just grown. In fact, by the time this runs, there probably will be a story on Petapixel about my project, and I'll put a link to it down below. And if there is no link, it means it didn't run yet. But I think it will have run by the time this runs. But anyway, that's my tale of how to make street photographs and looking the part, looking like the musician on the stage who is the artist that people want to pay attention to. How to look like the photographer that when you say hello, they go, "Yes," not, "No, we're not interested." All right, that's today's Photography Talk. Hey, if you're enjoying this, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, hit the Patreon. Thanks to all my supporters. I really do appreciate you. You make a huge difference. I'll be back next week. We'll talk more photography. As always, here's to good life.